Awesome. What's up, Des Moines? Doc Ladd here with the Fit Des Moines podcast. Today I have John Roed from Des Moines Spine and Sport. What's going on, John?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Yeah, I like the Doc Ladd too. Like as a chiropractor, we're always like doctor first name. So like always been Dr. John. And I don't know why that is, but
Yeah.
I like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's funny. I always get people in the clinic that are like, "What are you? Are you a chiropractor? Are you a PT? What do you do?"
yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
know, like,
And actually, most people call me my first name anyway. But
yeah.
I'm thinking about switching up, be more professional.
I'm pretty laid back too. Usually I tell people just call me Brian, but
Yeah,
I don't know. But in the Navy, everyone's doc, right? Like whether you're a corpsman or an actual physician or whatever, everyone they either call you by your rank or they call you doc. So
that's
kind of
cool.
that stemmed from. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we stuck with it. But well, why don't we go ahead and get started, John? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your background, and then what you do now.
All right. So I grew up in Northwest Iowa. I went to high school at South O'Brien. I went to undergraduate school at University of Iowa. And after I graduated there with a degree in biology, I went to chiropractic school up in Minneapolis. So University of Northwestern Health Sciences, College of Chiropractic. Graduated there in November of 2011, it's been. And then we worked on, I actually met my business partner there in class at, I think it was our first anatomy lab we had together, you know. And when you're cutting into a dead person, you're like making bonds. They last a long time. So yeah, Brooks and I started this practice. We actually opened April 2012. So we've been open about 8.5 years. And that's, I mean, seems like yesterday, yet it seems like forever ago, but it's going really well.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I've been well, later this month, it'll be a year that I've been open, and it's like looking back, it's like, how in the heck has it been a year already? Like, in some days, it's like doesn't seem like time is moving at all, and other days, it's like, you know, this whole year blew by, so it's kind of crazy. So I can only imagine 8.5 years, but
yeah, and it'll be cool when you have like patients that you've helped in the past and they're going on doing their thing, living their life, and then they come back and you're like, oh, you know, I just saw you, and then you look at your chart and you're like, I saw you like 5 years ago. This is crazy. I feel like it was just the other month, but
right, that's awesome.
Yeah, or kids will grow up and you'll have them as a freshman in high school. They'll come back, after they're out of college. You're like, what happened? So
that just means you're getting old, John.
It does. Yeah. I'm trying to hide my gray hair.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, after I got out of the Navy, I started growing this out, and it came in gray. I'm like, what's going on?
No, I like it. It's distinguished. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll stick with that, right? So are you a Hawkeye fan then?
I am. Yeah. So my wife and I both went to Iowa, and she says I followed her there, but I don't know if that's true. But so yeah, Hawkeyes.
That's awesome. Nice. So chiropractic in general, I guess, it kind of have some different like niches or different specialties. So what makes Des Moines Spine and Sport unique, and how do you guys practice?
So I think you've known enough about us to know that we are a little unique, I think, compared to other providers. We do more than a manipulation, really. I mean, some guys do, but a lot of guys are more of hey, we're just going to manipulate. We're going to use that tool, chiropractic adjustment, and that's their bread and butter. And we do that too, but we also do a lot of other modalities. Also, our philosophy on care is maybe a little different. We're mostly an acute care clinic. So if someone has an injury, we want to diagnose it, figure out what that problem is, treat that problem to the best of our ability, release from care if that's what's needed, and kind of do that instead of more of a wellness base. You're getting manipulated for other reasons, but that's kind of our niche and how we practice. So, and it's been good. people have responded well to it, and yeah, it's been fun too. So we get to have a little bit longer appointment times. Our time slots are typically 30 to 45 minutes. We're going to talk to people, figuring out what their interests are and what their goals are, and how to get them back to doing what they love to do. So that's kind of how we like to roll.
Yeah, how'd you come up with that model? Because that seems a lot different than, I mean, there's so many different styles of chiropractic out there.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
are,
And if you go down that rabbit hole, start, Googling different chiropractic philosophies and styles, you'll be, yeah,
yeah,
overwhelmed by stuff. But it was in school, actually a mentor of Dr. Brooks, myself, up at in Minneapolis, because when you're going through chiropractic school, you have internships that you do in the last few trimesters or semesters of school, and they were pretty influential. So there was a lady called Dr. Holly Westbrook that Brooks and I both practiced under her with, I guess, in school, and she practiced kind of a similar philosophy. And there's another place up there, it's called Orthology now, that has more of a hands-on approach, but kind of gleaned some things from those practices, and then made it our own too. But we had decided that kind of an acute care sports injury rehab is the route we wanted to go, and it was a good fit for both of us, and we're kind of happy we did it that way.
yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know that you guys did more of the acute care side of things. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, one thing I always find, I get this question, I swear, like every week. Someone comes in and they always ask, what do you think of chiropractors?
Yeah,
And
I get it too. And I'm like, I'm a chiropractor, and they're like, yeah, I know, but what do you think? And
yeah. It's so funny. I just laugh at it. I don't know. They always
yeah,
kind of like, it's like they're leading me into something. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
trying to feel it
they
out.
have their own preconceptions. Like, and I think I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of different styles and philosophies, and maybe they had something that they didn't love or experience at one time, and hopefully I can clear up with those questions when they come up. You know,
Yeah, that's kind of what I
it's
tell
one of
them
those things,
too.
though.
You're gonna find good chiropractors. You're gonna find bad ones. There's good physical therapists. There's bad physical therapists. Just like
Yeah, yeah,
you're gonna find good ones, and you're gonna find bad ones. You gotta find someone that works for you.
yeah, for
Find the
sure.
style that you like, and someone you can build a relationship with, and you can trust. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I usually tell them that too, and kind of go through a little bit of a back and forth. But at the end of the day, I think they find value in what we do, and then that's good. So
yeah, absolutely. So now you guys have 3 chiropractors. Is that correct?
yeah, so yeah, Brooks and I are the owners of the practice, and we have Dr. Mike as our associate. So um, we've kind of been blessed to grow in that way, and we have a kind of a small space. We're a little bit crammed with the 3 of us, but now things have been going really well.
You have plans to expand the practice at all into a bigger space, or?
Yeah, bigger space or a second location. Those plans are hopefully in the works. I think with COVID and everything going on this year, it's kind of thrown a wrench in things a little bit. But we're kind of taking what we get at this at this point with this year. So rolling with the punches, I guess, would be a better saying. But it's been it's been a good year still. We had definitely a slowdown in the spring. People were a little more leery about coming out and going to appointments, and totally understandable. And then we did more actually telemedicine appointments there. We started doing that. We'd never done a telemedicine appointment before, or telehealth, and we started doing some of those, and those worked well. But as you know, we got to get our hands on people, right? And there is some limitations to it, but it worked out, and things have picked back up here through the summer and the fall. So
Good.
it's been good.
Yeah, I always get funny questions from people about telehealth too. They're like, "How are you going to do physical therapy over telehealth?" And it's like, well, we can
Yeah.
do a lot. You just have to be open-minded. A lot of it's movement-based. Obviously, like you said, we can't do hands-on stuff, but there's some ways we can work around that. But
Yeah.
I thought, once COVID hit, I was like, well, perfect. Let's pivot. Let's do some telehealth and we'll make it through this. But
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. I found most of my clientele really wanted nothing to do with telehealth. A
Well,
couple people that came on, but by and large, most people were like, no, we'll just wait.
yeah, that definitely, there was a population, but some of those really acute injuries or people are really in pain. I'm like, at least let me show you some things that would
Right.
help relieve the situation you're in now.
Yeah,
And then maybe when things cool down, you come in.
a couple I can remember in particular where I had to kind of talk them into doing it. It's like, well, this is probably take care of this really quick, just show you a couple things, and
Yeah.
that's how it turned out too. They were easy things that we could fix by just showing a couple little exercises to do. And I think they're really pleased or really happy that they chose to do it in the end, but it took some coaching to get them into it.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a challenge. We're like 90% insurance based.
Yeah.
And there was some hurdles to kind of figure out what to bill and how that was all going to work too. We hopped on a couple calls with some people and figured out how to do it correctly and the right way. But
Yeah.
that was a little challenging too. There's always challenges, right?
Yeah.
That come up in practice.
There's a lot of talk about that with the physical therapy world too. Like, how are we going to actually reimburse for this? And a lot of times PT gets lumped in with like speech and OT as well. And so that makes some added challenges to things. And it's always a legal battle somewhere. So it makes it interesting.
A lot of paperwork. People don't understand that about practice. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff like that you got to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. Shifting gears just a little bit. I know you're big into CrossFit, so I want to talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah. That's been my main exercise modality for the last like 7 years. Before that, in school, mostly just lifting weights, a little bit of cardio here and there. And then once I found kind of a core group, that it was really when we moved to town and started meeting some people and found a gym that I liked, and just the community aspect is so great that that's been my go-to. I mean, the way we train, and I like, the variety and the intensity, but it's more the people, I would say, is why I've kind of stuck with CrossFit for so long. But it's a really good community.
Yeah. One thing I noticed too with CrossFit is, and I didn't expect this, but it's so helpful mentally, for me at least. You go into a workout and you look at it on the board and it's like, I can't do that. There's no way I'm going to get through this. And then inevitably I always make it through it.
Yeah.
I might have to scale
sometimes,
but just to be able to build that confidence, which I didn't think I was lacking before I started doing CrossFit. But it's made a big difference in confidence, anxiety, stress. Like, you leave there feeling so much better. And part of it too is like, part of it is like getting through the workout itself, but then just having that community, like you said, like people surrounding you, a ton of other people doing the exact same thing. Everyone's working together to get through it.
Yeah.
I think it's
when you have that near-death experience with people, it just brings together, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I kid, but doing something that's very challenging with a group of friends and just the high fives afterwards, it's pretty gratifying. So it's cool.
Yeah, and in many ways, CrossFit reminds me of the military, and that community aspect is one part that is very similar in both worlds. So how would you say? I know there's always like a stigma around CrossFit, and people that haven't done it always think like, oh, I'm going to get hurt, or people get hurt all the time in CrossFit. How would you say, what would you say to them? And then like, how have you stayed healthy over the past couple of years doing it?
That's funny. So we do see quite a few patients from the CrossFit community. That's mostly because that's kind of where we're at too. That's who we know. It's who we see, who we talk to.
Sure.
And there are some things that can happen when you're doing like pretty moderate to high weight at a high repetition volume. Things can go awry, but I think overall it's an excellent training modality. If, like you said, you're taking the right precautions, you're scaling when you should, you're modifying movements when you should, and you're being open with your coach and asking questions and talking and saying, hey, you know what? this doesn't feel that great today. I've had, you know, a lot of stress put on it, you know, whether it's your low back or your knee or whatever over the last week. What could I do that's different? And I think if you're, you know, asking those questions, the coaches will give you a really good plan of attack and how you can kind of get around that. Myself, I actually did have an injury 2 years ago. Yeah, you mentioned me staying healthy. I was like, well, that's not true. I fractured my patella doing CrossFit in the gym with like 40 people around, but it was kind of a freak thing. I caught a power clean that it wasn't even that heavy, but a transverse fracture right across my kneecap, and the thing popped apart. And I fell down and had to drop the weights, but surgery fixed it up, and rehab took a little bit, but I'm back to it. So it didn't scare me that bad, I guess.
I mean, that's kind of a freak accident, like you said. Like, that's a pretty rare injury.
Right.
A lot of those that I've seen are people like falling directly on their kneecap or something like that. So definitely.
Yeah, and that was kind of the thought by the doc in the ER. It's like, oh, you must have hit it. I'm like, no, I didn't actually. I know a little bit about this stuff, right? I'm trying to explain it to him. And then my wife is like, hey, I have that on video. I'm like, what? So I'm laying in the ER bed, and she gets out her phone, and I didn't know she's recording my workout. And you could see my top half of my patella just crawl up my leg as I'm falling in slow motion, right? I'm like, oh, there goes my kneecap. And then the x-ray was a clear break.
Yeah.
So it was kind of gnarly. So I had a couple screws put in, had a year basically rehab of that, and it was still having some irritation and pain. So I actually went back and had the hardware removed out of the patella, and it's been really good since then. But
yeah, it kind of surprises me that you didn't have like a patellar tendon rupture or quad tendon rupture versus the fracture. Interesting. I don't know.
Yep. It was it's kind of a head scratcher for sure.
Yeah. I think, kind of like you mentioned, like injuries are going to come up, right? Like just a couple of weeks ago, I had back pain, and I had a doctor's appointment too, and they asked me, "Well, are you in any pain right now?" And I just kind of laughed. I'm like, "Well, yeah, I actually have back pain."
Actually,
like as a physical therapist, I probably shouldn't have back pain, but things come up, and I think a big part of that is just mindset, knowing what you can or can't do, and knowing that you're going to get through it, and just work on that. And then to your points as well, like being honest with yourself in the gym, knowing when you need to scale and when you need to back off and let your body rest, and talking to your coach and being open and honest. I think those are important things.
Yeah, for sure. But to your point, like us experiencing that pain and those symptoms helps us relate a huge amount with our patients.
Oh, yeah.
If we can say, like, I understand where you're coming from, because I actually have similar issues myself, and I think they appreciate that.
Yeah.
So if I talk a little bit about my knee with a patient, or a shoulder issue that I've kind of worked through, I can empathize with them, and then tell them like, hey, it's going to be okay. Like, I got better, you're going to get better, and I think they appreciate that and understand that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one thing learning it in school, and it's one thing seeing a ton of patients with those injuries, and it's a whole nother game when you have that injury yourself and you can feel what it actually feels like, and then go through the recovery process. And yeah, like you said, it's a completely different game there, and people really appreciate that. I don't think we're like, as healthcare providers, we're not superhuman, right? Like, things are going to happen.
Right.
And I think people appreciate you being open and honest and being able to give them that feedback.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit from that. I understand you're a car person.
Yeah.
All right.
I do like cars. Yeah. How did this come up?
I may have been stalking you on Instagram.
Yeah.
What are you driving right now? So
I have a 2015 Chevy SS.
All right.
Which is kind of a rare car. It's based on a car out of Australia, what's called the Holden Commodore, but it's got a 6.2 liter V8, so it's kind of got the Corvette motor in a 4-door sedan. So that's like my daily driver. And then I do have a 2006 Porsche 911 Carrera S that I got before COVID hit. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll buy this car that, you know, I won't be able to drive it to any like cars and coffees or anything because everything's shut down. But it's you know, 14-year-old car, but still has some get up and go. So that's fun too.
There's a podcast idea for you. You can start the Cars and Coffee in Des Moines.
There's a cars and coffee scene in Des Moines that's pretty strong.
Is there really?
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. So there's a few different groups that'll meet Saturday mornings, or you know, a couple different places, you know, Ankeny or West Des Moines, and I do like to go to those and just hang out and talk to people. But I haven't got the 911 over there yet. So one of these times.
Yeah, soon, right?
Yeah.
I need to step up my game. I'm driving a Kia Sorento.
There you go. Family car.
Hey, I love it. It's super comfortable. It has a decent amount of power. It's no Porsche, but it gets the job done.
Hey, how many kids do you have now?
3.
Yeah. See, I only have 2, so we can all still get in the 911. Like the back seats are tiny, but
it is a game changer. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I've heard. I think we might stick with 2. Just
it's rough. We're making it through it. So we've got a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old. He'll be 3 in 2 weeks, and then a 2-month-old. So
yeah, you're right in the thick of it. So
yeah,
that's awesome. That's why you don't look tired. I was gonna say maybe you look tired because of the kids, but you don't. You look good. Oh, secret's out.
Right. Yeah. Coffee. Lots of coffee for sure.
Yeah, I have my fair share too, but my kids are out of the, you know, the real young stage. My 4-year-old still comes into my bed like every night. So we got that battle, but
well,
it's good.
I'm right there with you on that one. We actually took apart their bed last night, and we're like, well, we're going to put the mattress on the floor. Maybe they'll stay in there.
How'd that go?
It didn't work.
Doesn't work.
I think
they're so resilient, persistent. I don't know. They just never give up.
Right. Yeah, I've talked to people.
They just keep coming in.
Stay strong, and you need to just put them back in their bed. And I'm like, yeah.
That was your mother-in-law, wasn't it? Yeah.
I'm so tired. Like I can't do that. Like they come into the bed, and I just kind of pick them up and toss them in the middle, and let's go back.
Roll them over. Like, here you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even know I'm doing it. You know, it's just subconscious, and he's in there, and I'm like, well, he won't be in here when he's 16.
Right. Yeah, that's what we keep saying too. Like someday they're gonna want their own bed. They're gonna want to be out of here.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, John, what motivates you?
Oh, we're gonna get to the deep questions now. I honestly just helping people. We've always been about helping people, providing great customer service, seeing people go from honestly a state where they can't do something to they're feeling a lot better, and they're like, you know what, I can do this again now, and just trying to make people feel better brings me joy, and that's really why I do it. You know, side note, provide for my family, and you know, live, you know, kind of a happy life that way. But you know, when we started doing this, we're like, how can we help people achieve their goals and kind of get them back on a track that they're doing stuff they love. And that's kind of how we formulated the way we practice and how we do things. It's helping people, and we want to continue to help people and, you know, grow a little bit so we can help more. But that's why we do it.
Is chiropractic something you knew that you always wanted to go into, or?
No, not necessarily. Growing up, so in my hometown up in Northwest Iowa, my dad was the hometown dentist, and I kind of had that in the back of my head. I always knew I wanted to go into sciences and some sort of healthcare, but maybe the dental field. Yeah. And at Iowa, things kind of changed. And I had a friend who's like, oh, I got a couple uncles that are chiropractors, and I'm going to go into that. And I kind of started checking it out, and then I shadowed a couple people, and there's another kid from my hometown. He practices in Sioux Falls now, Dr. Ross McDaniel, and I shadowed him, and he had a sports chiropractic practice in Sioux Falls. And I was like, hey, I could see myself doing this. And that's kind of what solidified it. I started applying to schools and got into school. I'm like, yep, this is the route I'm going to go. So
Awesome. I thought for the longest time that I was going to be a strength coach.
yeah.
Of course, like I want to be NFL Division One, be at the top.
Yep.
But I was going to.
That's right.
And then I met my now wife, who was in nursing school, and she's like, "Hey, I think you'd be a good physical therapist. Like, you should look into that." And at the time, like, we had, I think, one physical therapist in my hometown at the time, and I kind of knew what he did, and I'd been in there a couple times, but really didn't know what physical therapy was or what they did. So started shadowing at a local clinic, and eventually got a job as a tech there while in school, and made the decision like that's what I wanted to do. And so luckily, I think it was end of my sophomore year, I decided I wanted to do that. And
so she gets all the credit.
Yeah, pretty much. She was right. She's always right.
Yeah, that's true. We'll just accept it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I decided like just the right time. I think it was the end of my sophomore year. And so kind of I kept my same major and just had to change up my coursework a little bit to get the prereqs for school. Finish in the same amount of time, but it's worked out well. I really like what.
Yeah.
I like
student loans are fun, huh?
Yeah.
No, sorry. We don't need to go down that path.
Try now. Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole nother talk, I think.
Right. Yeah. It's another day.
All right, John. Well, I won't keep you much longer. If people want to learn more about you or Des Moines Spine and Sports, how do they do so?
DSMspinesport.com is our website. You can follow us on Instagram. It's just DSM Spine Sport. No and or plus in there for the handle or the website. And those would be great places to start. We're on Facebook too, DSM Spine. I think the plus sports in there. But yeah, check us out. We'd love to even just chat. If people had questions about what we do and if we can maybe help them in some way, just reach out, send a message. We could do a call. We could do a call like this. So, yeah.
All right, John. Well, I appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem.